And we're live! Hi everyone, Storyteller's Oasis. 'Tis I, Avery Young. And welcome to episode 6 of the Storyteller's Oasis. Or the Storyteller's Corner, geez, I'm sorry. Can't believe we're on episode 6 of this, but you guys really seem to enjoy these live streams. I know I normally post around 11, but I figured it'd be fitting to do this around 12, at 12-ish, given the subject of today's episode. Now, it's no secret, and I'm just going to turn this down just to be on the safe side, but it's no secret that there are a lot of fairy tales that have been deemed classics over the years. Mostly thanks to Disney and their animated adaptations. There we go. Another song playing. Okay, good. Whoops. Sorry. But yeah, some of these fairy tales that we've heard of and some that I've mentioned are considered classics. One of the reasons being, of course, due to the film adaptations by Disney, the good old classic animated goodies. But then I also go after some of the stories that are less well known. Oh, hi, I didn't make it to the other story streams. I should watch this later, though. Hi, Afton Forever. It's no big deal, sweetheart. I understand things happen, but welcome. We're glad to have you. But yes, so classic fairy tales. The one in particular is one that is near and dear to my heart. So, being a girl born in the 2000s, I grew up on a lot of Disney films, like a lot of classics. I kid you not. One of my aunts had... My mom would take me to this one aunt. Hi, Isaac went missing. I'm just getting into this story. Hi, guys. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. But yeah, so being a kid in the 2000s, I grew up watching a lot of Disney movies. Like a lot. Again, I had an aunt, and when my mom would sometimes take me over to her place for babysitting. And this aunt of mine had a large shelf full of VHS tapes of all the classic Disney films. And I do mean all of them, post-Frozen, post-Moana, post all the current Disney films. And as such, it was very easy for me to be babysat. I would just grab one of those VHSs, pop it in the VHS player, and I would sit there for hours enjoying all that classic Disney goodness. And a side note, every time I went to that house, I kid you not, it was a tradition. And I don't know why, but every time I went there, the very first movie I would watch, before I watched any of the others, was I would always watch The Lion King first. Why? I don't know. It was just a ritual for me. Every time I went there, the first movie that would come on there would be The Lion King, and then I would watch all the other films. And one of the films that I also watched was Cinderella. The classic animated Cinderella, which was very near and dear to my heart, though my ultimate favorite was Little Mermaid, which is another story for another time. But yeah, I grew up watching all these animated Disney films. Gus was my favorite in Cinderella, and I'll fight people on that. But yeah, Cinderella is a very short, sweet adaptation. Disney's animated version is, of course. And no, I'm not going to talk about the live-action remakes. That is a story for another time, and it's not now. So, now, some people, they're into, gotta love Disney. At least the old school Disney. The stuff that I grew up on. I don't know. Again, not gonna delve into the live action remakes. That's another story for another time, and I don't feel like being angry right now. I don't feel like it. So, anyway. Some people believe that Cinderella is the weakest Disney princess, as all she seems to do is dream and slave away for her stepfamily, and she never really takes any action herself. I think that is wrong. I believe that she is honestly hardworking, and all she really wanted was just one night out, just one night of freedom, and then she would be content. She wasn't even interested in the prince. She wasn't gold digging her way to freedom. She's just like, look, I just want one night of freedom to enjoy myself, and then I'll be content. And the prince was basically just sort of icing on the cake for her. But that's personally my take, and I know some people will have different opinions, and hey, each to your own. Those are just my thoughts on Cinderella. Now, as I said before, the story is short and sweet and very kid-friendly. And as all of you know, from watching these live streams of mine, I always go after the original fairy tales in all of their dark, bloody, adult-oriented, sometimes bizarre glory. Because that's where these stories originate from. They originate from these stories that were passed down from oral tradition. And the story of Cinderella, which I will be reading to you today, isn't limited from that. And the thing with Cinderella, as I mentioned through oral storytelling, is Cinderella has multiple adaptations and multiple retellings. There was a picture book in my grade school that I went to that was an adaptation of the story called The Rough-Skinned Girl, which I enjoyed reading. I love the illustrations. But yeah, Cinderella, as with many fairy tales, has multiple adaptations and multiple retellings, and one even going so far back as to Egypt. I even have a copy of a Cinderella adaptation from when I did a wee bit of college called Fair, Brown, and Trembling, which is an Irish adaptation. Again, I told you guys if you wanted me to read different adaptations of the same story to let me know. I haven't been getting any comments of that so far, but it is what it is. And maybe I'll go over the other fairy tales to compare and contrast. Andre Gibson Smith, who doesn't want one night out? Exactly. And it also, for me at least with Cinderella, just wanting that one night out, you can kind of, I don't know, I can personally relate to it considering that I work a job almost every day and my days off are a gift and a treasure that I'm always looking forward to. I don't mind the work. I enjoy working, and as humans, I believe we are meant to work. But at the same time, it makes you working long days and working hard makes you thankful for those days off. But I digress. So, the ash lass in the story of Cinderella is obviously Cinderella herself, but there are a lot of magical elements, and there is symbolism. Symbolism that we'll definitely go into. But yeah, if you want to ask questions, feel free to come in and ask. But yeah, so Disney's version is okay, but the original story of Cinderella is undeniably bloody. It's messed up in some aspects, and it's quite gruesome, but it's also satisfying. Satisfying to see the bad guys get what they deserve, and I'm not going to spoil that for you. Don't worry. After this song, I promise I'll read the story. Speaking of, I probably should find it, because this book has a lot of Grimm's fairy tales, because the adaptation I'm reading, again, I don't know if I mentioned it, but the adaptation I'm reading is the one that was written by the Grimm brothers. Excuse me. Let's see. King Thrushbeard, the old beggar woman, the elves, the young giant, sweet porridge. Oh, wait a minute, I'm going the wrong way. Cinderella is page 71. Oh my goodness. If Disney has taught me anything, the best way to express sadness is to throw yourself on the nearest object and dramatically sob. Meme I found on Pinterest. I mean, a good cry is healthy, because it's not healthy to have your negative emotions bottled up. It's a good way to get that out. However, honestly, if I deal with sadness, I usually scream it out, I cry, and then after a bit, I just try and pick myself up again. All right, bear with me, sorry. Alrighty. So so here we go. Here's the story of Cinderella as told by the Brothers Grimm. And also, actually, just give me a sec. I'm gonna shut my bedroom door. My brothers are playing their video games, and they get very, 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 very loud. So, yeah, anyway. Cinderella. The wife of a rich man fell sick, and as she felt that her end was drawing near, she called her only daughter to her bedside and said, "Dear child, be good and pious, and then the good God will always protect thee, and I will look down on thee from heaven and be near thee." Thereupon she closed her eyes and departed. Every day the maiden went out to her mother's grave and wept, and she remained pious and good. When winter came, the snow spread a white sheet over the grave, and when the spring sun had drawn it off again, the man had taken another wife. The woman had brought 2 daughters into the house with her, who were beautiful and fair of face, but vile and black of heart. Now began a bad time for the poor stepchild. Yay, story time! I'm glad you're interested. I'm glad all of you are interested. Let's see. "Is the stupid goose to sit in the parlor with us?" said they. "He who wants to eat bread must earn it. Out with the kitchen wench!" They took her pretty clothes away from her, and put an old gray bedgown on her, and gave her wooden shoes. "Just look at the proud princess, how decked out she is!" they cried and laughed, and led her into the kitchen. There she had to do hard work from morning till night, get up before daybreak, carry water, light fires, cook and wash. Besides this, the sisters did her every imaginable injury. They mocked her, and emptied her peas and lentils in the ashes, so she was forced to sit and pick them out again. In the evening, when she had worked till she was weary, she had no bed to go to, but had to sleep by the fireside in the ashes. And as on that account she always looked dusty and dirty, they called her Cinderella. It happened that the father was once going to the fair, and he asked his 2 stepdaughters what he should bring back for them. "Beautiful dresses," said one. "Pearls and jewels," said the second. "And thou, Cinderella," said he, "what wilt thou have?" "Father, break off for me the first branch which knocks against your hat on your way home." So he bought beautiful dresses, pearls, and jewels for his 2 stepdaughters, and on his way home, as he was riding through a green thicket, a hazel twig brushed against him and knocked off his hat. He broke off the branch and took it with him. When he reached home, he gave his stepdaughters the things which they had wished for, and to Cinderella he gave the branch from the hazel bush. Cinderella thanked him, went to her mother's grave, and planted the branch on it, and wept so much that the tears fell down on it and watered it. It grew, however, and became a handsome tree. Thrice a day Cinderella went and sat with it, and wept and prayed, and a little white bird always came on the tree. And if Cinderella expressed a wish, the bird threw down to her what she had wished for. Now, in some cases, people theorize that the little white bird is the spirit of the mother. But of course, that is up to speculation. It happened, however, that the king appointed a festival which was to last 3 days, and to which all the beautiful young girls in the country were invited, in order that his son might choose himself a bride. When the 2 stepsisters heard that, When the 2 stepsisters heard that they too were to appear among the number, they were delighted, and called Cinderella, and said, "Comb our hair for us, brush our shoes, and fasten our buckles, for we are going to the festival at the king's palace." Cinderella obeyed and wept, because she too would have liked to go with them to the dance, and begged her stepmother to allow her to do so. "Thou go, Cinderella," said she. "Thou art dusty and dirty, and thou wouldst go to the festival. Thou hast no clothes and shoes, and yet thou wouldst dance." As, however, Cinderella went on asking, the stepmother at last said, "I have emptied a dish of lentils into the ashes for thee. If thou hast picked them out again in 2 hours, thou shalt go with us." The maiden went through the back door into the garden and called, "You tame pigeons, you turtle doves, and all you birds beneath the sky, come and help me to pick the good into the pot, the bad into the crop." Yep, under Gibbsmith, a dove with a branch. Some symbolism. Then 2 white pigeons came in by the kitchen window, and afterwards the turtle doves, and at last all the birds beneath the sky came whirring and crowding in, and alighted among the ashes. And the pigeons nodded with their heads, and began pick, 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 and the rest also so pick, 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 and gathered all the good grains into the dish. Hardly had 1 hour passed before they had finished, and all flew out again. Then the girl took the dish to her stepmother and was glad and believed that now she would be allowed to go with them to the festival. But her stepmother said, "No, Cinderella, thou hast no clothes, and thou canst dance. Thou wouldst only be laughed at." And as Cinderella wept at this, the stepmother said, "If thou canst pick 2 dishes of lentils out of the ashes for me in 1 hour, thou shalt go with us." And she thought to herself, "That she most certainly cannot do." When the stepmother had emptied 2 dishes of lentils amongst the ashes, the maiden went through to the back door into the garden and cried, "You tame pigeons, you turtle doves, and all you birds beneath the sky, come and help me to pick the good into the pot, the bad into the crop." Then 2 white pigeons came in by the kitchen window, and afterwards the turtle doves, and at length all the birds beneath the sky came whirring and crowding in, and alighted among the ashes, and the doves nodded with their heads and began, "Pick, pick, pick, pick," and the others began also, "Pick, pick, pick, pick," and gathered all the good seeds into the dishes, and before half an hour was over they had already finished, and all flew out again. Then the maiden carried the dishes to the stepmother, and was delighted, and believed that she might now go with them to the festival. But the stepmother said, "All this will not help thee. Thou goest not with us, for thou hast no clothes, and canst not dance. We should be ashamed of thee." On this she turned her back on Cinderella, and hurried away with her 2 proud daughters. As no one was now at home, Cinderella went to her mother's grave beneath the hazel tree and cried, "Shiver and quiver, little tree, silver and gold throw down to me." Then the bird threw a gold and silver dress down to her, and slippers embroidered with silk and silver. She put on the dress with all speed and went to the festival. Her stepsisters and the stepmother, however, did not know her, and thought she must be a foreign princess, for she looked so beautiful in the golden dress. They never once thought of Cinderella, and believed she was sitting at home in the dirt, picking lentils out of the ashes. The prince went to meet her, took her by her hand, and danced with her. He would dance with no other maiden, and never let loose of her hand. And if anyone else came to invite her, he said, "This is my partner." She danced till it was evening, and sorry about that. She danced till it was evening, and then she wanted to go home. But the king's son said, "I will go with thee, and bear thee company," for he wished to see to whom the beautiful maiden belonged. She escaped from him, however, and sprang to the pigeon house. The king's son waited until her father came, and then he told him that the stranger maiden had leapt into the pigeon house. The old man thought, "Can it be Cinderella?" And they had to him bring an axe and a pickaxe, that he might hew the pigeon house to pieces, but no one was inside it. And when they got home, Cinderella lay in her dirty clothes among the ashes, and a dim little oil lamp was burning on the mantelpiece. For Cinderella had jumped quickly down from the back of the pigeon house, and had run to the little hazel tree. There she had taken off her beautiful clothes and laid them on the grave, and the bird had taken them away again. And then she placed herself in the kitchen amongst the ashes in her gray gown. Hello, Mio. Oh, hi, Mai. Welcome to the live stream. I'm glad you're here. We're going over the story of Cinderella, one of the adaptations written by the Brothers Grimm. And Cinderella has just finished enjoying her night at the first ball. Yes, she does run and she does escape. She does manage to escape, which again ties into the classic animated Disney movie. Next day, when the festival began afresh, and her parents and the stepsisters had gone once more, Cinderella went to the hazel tree and said, "Shiver and quiver, little tree, silver and gold throw down over me." Then the bird threw down a much more beautiful dress than on the preceding day, and when Cinderella appeared at the festival in this dress, everyone was astonished at her beauty. The king's son had waited until she came, and instantly took her by the hand, and danced with no one but her. When others came and invited her, he said, "She is my partner." When evening came, she wished to leave, and the king's son followed her, and wanted to see into the house into which house she went, but she sprang away from him and into the garden behind the house. Therein stood a beautiful tall tree on which hung the most magnificent pears. She clambered so nimbly between the branches like a squirrel that the king's son did not know where she was gone. He waited until her father came and said to him, "The stranger maiden has escaped from me, and I believe she has climbed up in the pear tree." The father thought, "Can it be Cinderella?" Cinderella is cool in Disney, but in the original, well, she's just as good. All Cinderella adaptations are good. And had an axe brought and cut the tree down, but no one was in it. When they got into the kitchen, Cinderella lay there amongst the ashes, as usual, for she had jumped down on the other side of the tree and had taken the beautiful dress to the bird on the little hazel tree and put on her gray gown. I know it's kind of repetitive, Isaac, but bear with me. I promise it gets better, and I promise it gets bloody. I would not lie to you about that. When I say the original story is bloody, it's bloody. I promise we're getting to that. On the third day, when the parents and sisters had gone away, Cinderella went once more to her mother's grave and said to the little tree, "Shiver and quiver, little tree, silver and gold throw down to me." And now the bird threw down to her a dress which was more splendid and magnificent than any she had yet had, and the slippers were golden. And when she went to the festival in the dress, no one knew how to speak for astonishment. The king's son danced with her only, and if anyone invited her to the dance, he said, "She is my partner." When evening came, Cinderella wished to leave, and the king's son was anxious to go with her, but she escaped from him so quickly that he could not follow her. The king's son, however, had a stratagem, and had caused the whole staircase to be smeared with pitch, and there, when she ran down, had the maiden's left slipper remained sticking. The king's son picked it up, and it was small and dainty and all golden. Next morning he went with it to his father and said to him, No one shall be my wife, but she whose foot this golden slipper fits." Then were the two sisters glad, for they had pretty feet. The eldest went with the shoe into her room and wanted to try it on, and her mother stood by, but she could not get her big toe into it, and the shoe was too small for her. If the glass slipper fit perfectly, how did it fall off? Because the king's son had smeared pitch all over the steps, and pitch is kind of like a tar-like substance. It's very, very sticky. So when Cinderella took a step, her shoe stuck to the pitch, and whoop, it slipped off. It may have fit perfectly, but the glass slipper was not immune to the power of pitch and smart and clever princes, because this prince is kind of clever to an extent, which is explained in the story. So yeah, the first stepsister is trying to get her foot into the shoe, but her big toe won't go in, and well, the slipper's too small for her. Then her mother gave her a knife and said, "Cut the toe off. When thou art queen, thou wilt have no more need to go on foot." The maiden cut the toe off, forced the shoe on, swallowed the pain, and went out to the king's son. He took her on his horse as his bride and rode away with her. They were, however, obliged to pass the grave, and there on the hazel tree sat two pigeons who cried, turn and peep, there's blood within the shoe. The shoe is too small for her. The true bride waits for you." Plus, Ruby make better Cinderella villain named Cinderfall. That's actually interesting. Then he looked at her foot and saw how the blood was streaming from it. He turned his horse round and took the false bride home again, and said she was not the true one, and that the other sister was to put the shoe on. Then this one went into the chamber and got her toes safely into the shoe, but her heel was too large. So her mother gave her a knife and said, "Cut a bit off thy heel. When thou art queen, thou wilt have no more need to go on foot." The maiden cut a bit off her heel, forced her foot into the shoe, swallowed the pain, and went out to the king's son. He took her on his horse as his bride and rode away with her. But when they passed the hazel tree, the two little pigeons. She did what now? She cut off a chunk of her heel. She cut off a chunk that way her shoe could fit. What? They're stepsisters and they want to become queen. And their mother just happened to give them the knife, saying, if you're queen, you'll have no more need to go on foot. I mean, I get really wanting something, but okay, I'm going to pause the story, but let me ask. So yeah, that is their big idea. What? The first stepsister cut off her big toe and the other one cut off a chunk of her heel. So that way they could fit their feet into the slipper. So let me ask you something. That's their bright idea. That is their big brain of getting what they want. Let me ask you something. Is there something you want more than anything in the world? Now let me ask you again. Is it worth cutting pieces of your foot off? Is it worth removing body parts? Don't worry. It gets better. I promise. But yeah, they cut off their shoes. They cut off bits of their feet to try and get them into the slipper. And stepsister number two is taken by the prince, and they pass by the hazel tree. Two little pigeons sat on it and cried, turn and peep, there's blood within the shoe. The shoe, it is too small for her. The true bride waits for you. Jeez, that sounds painful. That's certainly a way to get what you want. Yeah, it is, Afton, but it's not a good way to get what you want. Removing feet is making me sick. I'm sorry, Akira, but don't worry. Don't worry. There's no more foot chopping that Gibson. Geez, that sounds painful. Yeah, it is, considering this is post-modern medicine and they have no anesthesia. Literally, and it literally says they swallowed the pain. So basically the best thing they can do, here's a piece of cloth, just bite down on this and then try not to scream too much. Oh gosh. Yes. Leave it to Grim. All nice and bloody and twisted. But yeah, once again, the pigeons do their song and dance of turn and peep, there's blood in this shoe. So yeah, the prince is smart to an extent, but he's also just a little bit gullible. But then again, that's painful. I think I watch too much horror movies. Oh, trust me, Kokichi Oma, there are a lot more painful things that happen in fairy tales. Trust me, I know. Anywho, but yeah, so yeah, the prince is a little gullible. The pigeons go through their stick of turn and peep, there's blood in this shoe. This isn't the right bride. Did you know there's a Chinese? Yep. I do know about the Chinese Cinderella. In fact, I believe I read a version of that when I tried doing college. So anyway, back to the story. He looked down at her foot and saw the blood, and saw how the blood was running out of her shoe, and how it had stained her white stocking. Then he turned his horse and took the false bride home again. This also is not the right one, said he. Have you no other daughters? No, said the man. There is still a little stunted kitchen wench, which my late wife left behind her, but she cannot possibly be the bride. The king's son said that he was to send her up to him, but the mother answered, oh no, she is much too dirty. She cannot show herself. He absolutely insisted on it, and Cinderella had to be called. The pigeons are the smart ones. Yeah, they are, but I mean, the prince is a little gullible, falling for the same trick twice, but at least he does have some brains, because it makes sense. If an animal talks to you, you should listen to it. It might give you some good advice. Like in the case of these witness pigeons, who know BS when they see it. Mostly because the blood is literally just flowing out from the shoe. I mean, if the stepsisters wanted to get away with it, they probably should have taken a hot iron to, cauterize the wound. Then they probably wouldn't have gotten caught. But yeah. I know these stories are gruesome, but not into detail. I'm sorry. I was just basically going over it there. It's like if the stepsisters wanted to get away with it, they probably should have cauterized the wound instead of leading them to bleed all over the place. Anywho, back to the story. So Cinderella's called up. She first washed her hands and face clean, and then went and bowed down before the king's son, who gave her the golden shoe. Then she seated herself on a stool, drew her foot out of the heavy wooden shoe, and put it into the slipper, which fitted like a glove. And when she rose up, the king's son looked at her face, and he recognized the beautiful maiden who had danced with him and cried, "That is the true bride." Well, I guess Disney removed the bloody feet scene. Yeah, Disney, when they were making the fairy tale films, they heavily sugarcoated them and adapted them to be appropriate for all ages, which is very understandable. But I've said it before, I think, and I'll say it again. There's always something charming about reading the original stories in all their dark, gruesome bloodiness. And besides, to quote the great Adam Gidwitz, who I'm pretty sure quoted somebody else, in the darkest zones one finds the brightest beauty, the most luminous wisdom, and the most blood. Anyway, I'm sorry. Alrighty, so yeah, Cinderella puts on the shoe and the prince recognizes her. Hopefully she cleaned out the shoe before she put it on. I'm assuming she did. It doesn't say in the book, but yeah, I mean, I can handle certain things, but I'd probably be a little squeamish to put my foot in a shoe that was, filled with blood and maybe viscera and blah, 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 blah. I would love to Cinderella ASMR. Maybe. We'll see. So, and the prince recognized the beautiful maiden who had danced with him and cried, "That is the true bride." The stepmother and the two stepsisters were terrified and became pale with rage. He, however, took Cinderella on his horse and rode away with her. As they passed by the hazel tree, the two white doves cried, "Turn and peep! Turn and peep! No blood is in the shoe! The shoe is not too small for her. The true bride rides with you." Worst details of blood and gore. I'm sorry, Isaac, but it had to be done. Anyway, and when they had cried that, the two came flying down and placed themselves on Cinderella's shoulders, one on the right, the other on the left, and remained sitting there. When the wedding with the king's son had to be celebrated, the two false sisters came and wanted to get into favor with Cinderella and share in her good fortune. When the betrothed couple went to church, the elder was at the right side and the younger at the left, and the pigeons pecked out one eye of each of them. Afterwards they came back. The elder was at the left and the younger was at the right. And when the pigeons pecked out the other eye of each, and then the pigeons pecked out the other eye of each, and thus, for their wickedness and falsehood, they were punished with blindness as long as they lived. Yeah, I wouldn't want anyone else's blood on my feet. Yep. Wooden shoe splinters. Most likely so, unless they were polished, but then again, or smoothed out. But I doubt Cinderella's stepsister's that good. So, yeah. And thus, for their wickedness and falsehood, they were punished with blindness as long as they lived. And that is the end of Cinderella, as told by the Brothers Grimm. Yeah, I wouldn't want anyone else's blood on my feet. Yeah, neither would I. It doesn't say in the book, but I assume she cleaned it out with a lot of water. Ooh, the birds are so done. Yeah. Well, Anastasia and Disney Cinderella did redeem and marry the Big Bird. Yes, she did. And that's one of the things I liked. At least one of the stepsisters did get a redeeming arc after and forever. Ooh, the birds are so done. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they've been done ever since they saw how Cinderella was being treated. But I've heard of worse ways to go. Oh, trust me, Isaac, there are plenty of worse ways to go in fairy tales, and I know quite a few of them. But those are stories for another time, though one of those stories is also a classic. Rip their eyes, not able to see. Yeah, but it is fitting. I mean, they abused Cinderella. They mocked her. They did her every injury imaginable. They lied to try and get with the prince, and they wanted to try and get rewarded for that. They wanted to get into Cinderella's favor. And this wasn't Cinderella acting out of malice. I mean, we don't see her enact this. It's the birds, which again, the birds and the pigeons possibly tying into her mother, but also Andre gives an evil laugh. What, do you like my evil laugh? I think it's cringe, but I mean, I could do more evil laugh if people are into it, and trust me, deep down I can be quite evil. Anyway, But yeah, we see no malice of Cinderella. This was done by the pigeons. Insert Madara Uchicha laugh here. I don't know what that is. Isaac, mwah, ha 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 ha. Oh, son of a gun, my laptop is running low. Yikes. Well, that's why we have a charger. But yeah, that is one adaptation of Cinderella. Obviously, in some other adaptations, she actually forgives the stepsisters, which I mean, kind of had it coming. I mean, yeah, they definitely did, and I mean, the self mutilation I think would have been punishment enough, but and so Avery became the Crypt Queen. The Crypt Queen? What does that mean? I don't know about Crypt Queen. I'm the Strawberry Queen because I like strawberries. Just like Proxy, my boyfriend is the Pringle King because he eats lots of Pringles. So I don't know. I've been watching too much horror movies and see some blood and realize I just watched a movie called The Black Phone. I've heard of that. With me, I like horror films, but I'm very, 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 very picky about the ones that I like to watch. I like them to have story and character rather than just being a cheap excuse for gore. That evil laugh, 10 out of 10. Oh, please. Oh, please, that evil laugh. That she reads scary Grimm stories. Well, it's not just the Brothers Grimm that wrote fairy tales that have messed up origins. I mean, Carlo Collodi, I'm mispronounced that, but Carlo Collodi wrote Pinocchio, and Pinocchio is really, really messed up in multiple ways. Like, I could go on and on about Pinocchio. Give Disney some credit. They were able to tone down that messed upperiness way down to where it's still traumatizing AF, but it's like toned down. Like, it would take me a long time to read Pinocchio. Like, it's 36 chapters if I remember right, so it'd probably be a two-part live stream. If you guys want me to read Pinocchio, I'll read it, but like, I just gonna warn you, it's really messed up. Yes, anyway. So, but I think it's fascinating. And now, yes, please. Oh, really? You want me to read Pinocchio to you, Akira? You want me to read Pinocchio and potentially scare your shorts off and make you go, ah! You want to get terrified? Because Pinocchio, the original story, is kind of messed up and downright terrifying. But it does have a happy ending, like Cinderella. Now, morals. I always try and find a moral within the fairy tales that I read. You need 2 crowns, ma'am. I think you dropped this. No, hush. I don't need 2 crowns. I already got one. It's non-existent. And that is my Strawberry Queen crown. And besides, I'm already wearing a crown-like thing. It's a headband from when I went to prom. My cousin got it for me along with some others for when I went to prom. But yeah, so moral of the story of Cinderella. Obviously, yeah, I analyze horror fairy tale. Sure, wooden puppet. You guys, are you sure you want me to read Pinocchio? And I didn't get scared. Just wait till I freaking start reading Pinocchio again. Disney toned that down a lot. But anyway, I'm trying to we're getting off subject here. So, moral of the story of Cinderella. I actually drew your boyfriend Proxy as a kitty, and he actually made a video of it, and I'm a kitty cat dance. I saw that. It looked really good. One for you and one for Proxy. Yes, Proxy gets crown. Anywho. I'm sorry, I have the attention span of a freaking goldfish. I've only had a few gulps of that monster. Jeez. Anyway, but moral of the story of Cinderella. Obviously the classic, as said by Cinderella's dead mother, be good and pious, and surely the good God will be with thee and reward thee. Again, some of the fairy tales had religious aspects. There's even one called Godfather Death. But yeah, that's a moral you can definitely take away from, be kind and decent to people, and in turn they'll treat you that way. So my friends call me the ruler of the Shark Council, which is fitting, Isaac. But yeah, be decent to other people, treat others the way you want to be treated, and in turn they'll treat you that way. Hey, you both dropped these for you and Proxy. Oh, hush, Kokichi. Why do they call you that? Why do they call me what? But anyway, yeah, treat others the way you want to be treated. If you treat someone nicely, then they'll treat you back that way in return. Also, another moral: what goes around comes around. Obviously, with the stepsisters abusing Cinderella and trying to lie their way into getting into royalty, that came around and bit them hard, i.e., the mutilated feet, which was already punishment enough, but also getting their eyes pecked out by birds. So, yeah, what goes around comes around, and you ought to be careful. And once more, and applying to my take on Cinderella, is where someone with a more feminist viewpoint, and again, each their own, might still say that even in her original fairy tale, Cinderella is weak and she didn't do anything to get out of her horrible situation. I disagree. She's not entirely weak, nor is she gold digging. In the story, we never see her mention how she wants to be with the prince. She just wants to go to the festival. She wants to have fun. And when she leaves the 3 times in a row, she gives the clothes back to the tree. She doesn't keep them. She just wants those 3 nights of freedom to enjoy herself and to have a break from the chaos. They lost sight privileges. Yes, they did. They lost their sight privileges. And that's getting off a little lightly. Some characters in fairy tales have lost life privileges. And in the most gruesome ways possible. Sorry, cheese. Fuck. Anyway. Oh, makes sense. Thanks. But yes. Treating others the way you want to be treated. What goes around comes around. And also, if I were to find a moral, I would definitely say, when animals talk, you listen to them. that is a joke, of course. Humor aside, I honestly can't find a moral of my own in the story of Cinderella. Personally, I do think that Cinderella's late mother said it right. Just be good and be pious, and the good God will be with you. And well, I know it's a fairy tale, but where did the birds get the dress from? It's magic. It's magic, and also possibly tying into the symbolism of the tree being over the mother's grave, with the dove or the bird being a symbolism of the mother, because she did say that she would be watching over Cinderella from heaven. So it could be magic. They got the dress from mail order. No, it's magic. Magic, you fools. Magic. It's a magic hazel tree. And I mean, hazel trees, along with aspen trees, if I remember right, are tied in with believing to have magical elements and properties. You can't escape us, Isaac. Old-timey Amazon. I mean, if you want old-timey Amazon, there are a plethora of ye old postal. Ha ha. Very funny, laughing Reaper. But if you want old-timey Amazon, I know various magic items and various things that provide what you need. Now, question. It's 43 minutes. I could wrap up this video. However, I do have a copy of Fair, Brown, and Trembling, which is an Irish adaptation of the Cinderella story. Are you guys interested? Would you guys like me to read that one so you can see the differences? Because, again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, but original fairy tales, when told orally, get passed down and details get switched, but some elements are still there, i.e., so, okay, I got 1 vote for yes, please on Fair, Brown, and Trembling. Does anyone else want to hear the story of Fair, Brown, and Trembling, the Irish version of Cinderella? Sure, would love to see the Irish version. Okay, if I get 1 more, that'll be 3, and even the Chinese Cinderella. Well, I don't have that adaptation, but I do got a copy of Fair, Brown, and Trembling. I just gotta, here it is. Because I'm one. Okay, that makes 3. So once this song's finished, I will read Fair, Brown, and Trembling, an Irish Cinderella story, as a bonus. But yeah, when I did a little bit of college, my English teacher did a lot of fairy tales, which of course fairy tales be my bread and butter. I was all over that like white on rice. So yeah. And if I remember right, let's see. Let's see. Because I think this one has. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this one does have the adult elements. So let Bippity Boppity Boo, the Irish story. So yeah, the Irish story, less blood, but more car bombs. No. Is the Irish version less blood? I believe there is less blood, but it still is messed up, and there actually is a very subtle adult element to it. I just had to make sure, but yes, there is a very subtle adult element to it. So you guys are in for a treat. And I believe this is the second time I've read 2 stories in a live stream. But yeah, I actually had a book called The Basement, and it had some swearing words, and I actually took it to school. Well, this whole July I was doing the yokai challenge. Good for you. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this one's bloody. And this one actually does, this is where we first see a fairy godmother figure to an extent. So, Fair, Brown, and Trembling, an Irish Cinderella story. And I apologize if I mispronounce these Irish names. I apologize in advance. King Hugh Carucha lived in Tir Conal, and he had 3 daughters whose names were Fair, Brown, and Trembling. Fair and Brown had new dresses and went to church every Sunday. Trembling was kept at home to do the cooking and work. They would not let her go out of the house at all, for she was more beautiful than the other 2, and they were in dread she might marry before themselves. They carried on this way for 7 years, and at the end of 7 years, the son of King Emania fell in love with the eldest sister. One Sunday morning, after the other 2 had gone to church, the old henwife came into the kitchen to Trembling and said, It's at church. You ought to be this day, instead of working here at home. How could I go? Said Trembling. I have no clothes good enough to wear at church, and if my sisters were to see me there, they'd kill me for going out of the house. I'll give you, said the henwife, a finer dress than either of them has ever seen. Now tell me, what dress will you have? I'll have, said Trembling, a dress as white as snow, and green shoes for my feet. Then the henwife put on a cloak of darkness, clipped a piece from the old clothes the young woman had on, and asked for the whitest robes in the world, and the most beautiful that could be found, and a pair of green shoes. That moment she had the robe and the shoes, and she brought them to Trembling, who put them on. When Trembling was dressed and ready, the henwife said, I have a honey bird here to sit on your right shoulder, and a honey finger to put on your left. At the door stands a milk-white mare with a golden saddle for you to sit on, and a golden bridle to hold in your hand. Trembling sat on the golden saddle, and when she was ready to start, the henwife said, You must not go inside the door of the church, and the minute the people rise up at the end of Mass, you must make off, and ride home as fast as the mare will carry you. When Trembling came to the door of the church, there was no one inside who could get a glimpse of her, but was striving to know who she was. And when they saw her hurrying away at the end of Mass, they ran out to overtake her. But no use in their running. She was away before any man could come near her. From the minute she left the church till she got home, she overtook the wind before her and outstripped the wind behind. Sorry, I gotta go now. It's fine, Kokichi, I understand. I hope you have a very good day just the same. And once again, I mentioned religious elements in fairy tales, and this one actually goes out of its way to mention church. Hi, Isaac. Welcome. I'm reading Fair, Brown, and Trembling, an Irish adaptation of the Cinderella story. Whoops. Son of a gun. I need to wash my bed stuff anyway. There we go. She came down at the door, went in, and found the henwife had dinner ready. She put off the white robes and had on her old dress in a twinkling. When the two sisters came home, the henwife asked, "Have you any news today from the church?" "We have great news," said they. "We saw a wonderful grand lady at the church door. The likes of the robes she had we have never seen on woman before. It's little it's little that was thought of our dresses besides what she had on, and there wasn't a man at the church from the king to beg her, but was trying to look at her and know who she was." The the sisters would give no peace till they had two dresses like the robes of the strange lady, but honey birds and honey fingers were not to be found. The next Sunday the two sisters went to church again, and left the youngest at home to cook the dinner. After they had gone, the henwife came in and asked, "Will you go to church today?" "I would go," said Trembling, "if I could get the going." "What robe will you wear?" asked the henwife. "The finest black satin that can be found, and red shoes for my feet." "What color do you want the mare to be?" "I want her to be so black and so glossy that I can see myself in her body." The henwife put on the cloak of darkness and asked for the robes and the mare. The moment she had them, when Trembling was dressed, the henwife put the honey bird on her right shoulder and the honey finger on her left. The saddle on the mare was silver, and so was the bridle. When Trembling sat in the saddle and was going away, the henwife ordered her strictly not to go inside the door of the church, but to rush away as soon as the people rose at the end of Mass, and hurry home on the mare before any man could stop her. That Sunday, the people were more astonished than ever, and gazed at her more than the first time, and all they were thinking of was to know who she was. But they had no chance, for the moment the people rose at the end of Mass, she slipped from the church, and was in the silver saddle, and home before a man could stop her or talk to her. Cloak of Darkness. Yes, Akira, Cloak of Darkness being tied into magic, as the henwife possesses magical qualities, possibly a witch. But regardless, the henwife is the first real example we see of a fairy godmother character. As in the original story by the Brothers Grimm, the tree and the birds serve as the fairy godmother of sorts. And also, we find that Cinderella's shoes are different colors, and that's another thing that changes from adaptation is the footwear. Some people say it's glass, some say it's golden, some say it's a shoe with fur, but it's another thing I find fascinating is how with the oral storytelling certain details change, i.e. the footwear. But yes, Cloak of Darkness, consisting of magical properties, the henwife potentially a witch. We don't know. Okay, so yes, Trembling is able to leave before any guy can catch her or talk to her. Oh wait, did I read? Oh yeah, I did. I'm sorry. Son of a gun. It wouldn't be a live stream of mine if something wasn't going on. The first shoe is probably the reason why it's referred to as a glass slipper. Possibly. We never know. The henwife had the dinner ready. Trembling took off her satin robe and had on her old clothes before her sisters had gone home. "What news have you today?" asked the henwife to the sisters when they came from the church. "Oh, we saw the grand strange lady again, and it's little that any man could think of our dresses after looking at the robes of satin she had on, and all at church from high to low had their mouths open, gazing at her, and no man was looking at us." The two sisters gave neither rest nor peace till they got dresses as nearly like the strange lady's robe as they could find. Of course, they were not so good, for the likes of those robes could not be found in Erin. When the third Sunday came, Fair and Brown went to church dressed in black satin. They left Trembling at home to work in the kitchen, and told her to be sure to have dinner ready when they came back. After they had gone and were out of sight, the henwife came to the kitchen and said, "Well, my dear, are you for church today?" "I would go if I had a new dress to wear." I'll get you any dress you ask for. What dress would you like? Asked the henwife. And we also see that these dresses are of different colors. They seem jealous, lol. I mean, if I was wearing a nice dress and I looked nice and I did my makeup and everything, and someone were to walk by looking in designer clothes, looking like an absolute freaking supermodel princess on steroids, and everyone just looked at her with wide eyes and slack jaws and didn't even bother to look at me or compliment me, I'd be a little peeved. And if my boyfriend were looking at that same person with wide eyes and a slack jaw and not giving me any attention, well, I'd be a little jealous. I'd probably grab him by the ears like, hey, I'm your girlfriend, remember? Don't you go getting any ideas. I will come after you. Yep, green with envy. Exactly. All right, so Trembling asks for the new dress to wear, and the henwife says, I'll get you whatever kind of dress you want. What color do you want? A dress as red as a rose from the waist down and white as snow from the waist up. A cape of green from my shoulders, and a hat on my head with a red and white and a green feather in it, and shoes with my feet with the toes red, the middle white, and the back and heels green. These colors, by the way, are also symbolic with magic in some cases. In the olden days, there were two places that people would meet and mingle. These places were the taverns and churches. They are both social gatherings, and they are a commonality among the locale. Never seen you to be a jealous type. I can be, and I'm sorry, but like I love my boyfriend dearly with all my heart, but I'm not gonna share him. Nope, he's my boyfriend. Not gonna share him. To those of you who do polyamory and can share, more power to you. Good on you. I'm sorry, but that's not for me. This is my boyfriend. I'm not going to share him, and I don't want anyone else. I'm content with my boyfriend, and I love him dearly. So, Proxy, if you're seeing this, I love you. Cinderella current outfit. Have a cloak of darkness. But see, fairy tales adapt being applied to modern media. So, she asks for the multicolored dress of red, white, and green. All right. The henwife put on the cloak of darkness, wished for all these things, and had them. When Trembling was dressed, the henwife put the honey bird on her right shoulder and the honey finger on her left. And placing the hat on her head, clipped a few hairs from one lock and a few from another with her scissors. And that moment, the most beautiful golden hair was flowing down over the girl's shoulders. When the henwife asked what kind of mare she would ride, she said white, with blue and gold colored diamond-shaped spots all over her body, and on her back a saddle of gold, and on her head a golden bridle. The mare stood there before the door, and a bird sitting between her ears, which began to sing as soon as Trembling was in the saddle, and never stopped till she came from the church. Till she came home from church. The fame of the beautiful strange lady had gone out throughout the world, and all the princes and great men that were in it came to church that Sunday, each one hoping that it was himself who would have her home with him after Mass. About to throw hands with Proxy if he did that. Yeah, Proxy. Yeah, again, I love him dearly, but I get jealous. I will get jealous. Anywho, so yeah. So each prince and great man came to church on Sunday, hoping that he'd be able to take the mysterious maiden home after Mass. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more, say no more. Nudge, nudge. Yeah. Anyway, also with the significance in the color green within Irish culture is that it has connection with Catholicism due to Ireland and Italy being hard Catholic. They boast it and represent it on flags. Exactly. Colors green also being symbolism for the Christian religion elements. Case in point. Well done, Laughing Reaper. So, okay, back to the story. The son of the king of Emania forgot all about the eldest sister and remained outside the church so as to catch the strange lady before she could hurry away. The church was more crowded than ever before, and there were 3 times as many outside. There was such a throng before the church that Trembling could only come inside the gate. I do homework. Hey, I know that quote. Well, I do homework too. Just not the same way. Anyway, each to their own, but yeah. As soon as the people were rising at the end of Mass, the lady slipped out through the gate, was in the golden saddle in an instant, and sweeping away ahead of the wind. But if she was, the Prince of Emania was at her side, and seizing her by the foot, he ran with the mare for 30 perches, and never let go of the beautiful lady till the shoe was pulled off from her foot. And he was thinking all the time, oh, whoops. Till the shoe was pulled from her foot, and he was left behind with it in his hand. She came home as fast as the mare could carry her, and was thinking all the time that the hen wife would kill her for losing the shoe. Seeing her so vexed and so changed in the face, the old woman said, "What's the trouble that's on you now?" "Oh, I have lost one of the shoes off my feet," said Trembling. "Don't mind that. Don't be vexed," said the henwife. "Maybe it's the best thing that ever happened to you." Then Trembling gave up all the things she had to the henwife and put on her old clothes and went to work in the kitchen. When the sisters came home, the henwife asked, "Have you any news from the church?" "We have indeed," said they, "for we saw the grandest sight today. The strange lady came again, in grander array than before. On herself and the horse she rode were the finest colors in the world, and between the ears of the horse was a bird that never stopped singing from the time she came till she went away. The lady herself was the most beautiful woman ever seen by man in Erin." After Trembling had disappeared from the church, the son of the king of Emania said to the other king's sons, "I will have that lady for my own." Which, you gotta give some you gotta give some points to the king's son of Emania. At least he's also clever enough to go after what he wants. He literally grabs onto Trembling by the foot and runs with her horse while holding onto her shoe and not letting go. Only until the point where the shoe, finally slips off. But, I mean, at least he's determined, and he actually goes out of his way to say, I'm gonna go courting this girl. I mean, I don't know. I think it's funny how he just casually seizes her by the foot and runs after her. That's gotta be a sight. So yeah. After Trembling had disappeared from the church, the son of the king of Mania said to the other king's sons, "I will have that lady for my own." They all said, "You didn't win her just by taking the shoe off her foot. You'll have to win her by the point of sword. You'll have to fight for her with us before you can call her your own." "Well," said the son of the king of Emania, "when I find the lady that shoe will fit, I will fight her. Never fear, before I leave her to any of you." Shoe snatched! Man's got determination and desperation. Wow. Yeah. I'm kind of glad Trembling wasn't around to see that. Imagine being the most beautiful person, so much so that all these guys of high stature and power and princes just start fighting over you. I'm glad I'm not that pretty. I just have a decent amount. I'm glad with the amount of beauty I was given. But yeah, if I had a bunch of guys fighting over me, I don't know whether I'd be scared or I'd enjoy watching the carnage. I don't know. A duel against a desperate and driven man is how kingdoms are toppled. We'll see. But yeah, so the Prince of Emania is like, "I call dibs on this one," and the other princes are like, "Fight! You gotta fight us for her." So yeah, dang. Then all the king's sons were uneasy and anxious to know who was she that lost the shoe, and they all began to travel all over Erin to know could they find her. The Prince of Emania and all the others went in a great company together and made the round of Erin. They went everywhere, north, south, east, and west. They visited every place where a woman was to be found, and left not a house in the kingdom they did not search, to know could they find the woman the shoe would fit, not caring whether she was rich or poor, of high or low degree. Shujo Hime is the Japanese version of Cinderella. Again, lots of adaptations. Now that is true. Embrace the chaos, Avery. Take pleasure in embracing chaotic neutral lifestyle. I mean, I'd be willing to watch the fight, but if somebody got hurt, I'd be like trying to call it up. It's like, okay, break it up. No one needs to die over me. Please, I don't want that. I don't want that on my conscience. But give these princes some credit. Not only just the King of Emania, but they're searching every house, and they don't care if this girl is rich, poor, of high class, or not. So, I mean, yeah, they are all kind of taken with her beauty, but I mean, at the same time, at least they're not discriminating to an extent. The Prince of Emania always kept the shoe, and when the young woman saw it, they had great hopes for it was of proper size, neither large nor small, and it would beat any man to know of what material it was made. One thought it would fit her if she cut a little from her great toe, and another, with too short a foot, put something in the tip of her stocking, but no use. They only spoiled their feet, and were curing them for months afterwards. So, yeah, in the Grimm's version, we see some foot mutilation. Just one of them cuts off her foot, and then the other one just tries, putting some extra stuffing in the shoe. But, I mean, hey, it's still carried over, kind of. The two sisters, Fair and Brown, heard that the princes of the world were looking all over Erin for the woman that could wear the shoe, and every day they were talking of trying it on, and one day Trembling spoke up and said, "Maybe it's my foot that the shoe will fit." "Oh, the breaking of the dog's foot on you! Why say so when you were at home every Sunday?" Excuse me. They were that way, waiting and scolding the younger sister till the princes were near the place. The day they were to come, the sisters put Trembling in a closet and locked the door on her. When the company came to the house, the Prince of Emania gave the shoe to the sisters, but though they tried and tried, it would fit neither of them. "Is there any other woman in the house?" asked the prince. "There is," said Trembling, speaking up in the closet. "I'm here." "Oh, we have her for nothing but to put out the ashes," said the sisters. But the prince and the others wouldn't leave the house till they had seen her, so the two sisters had to open the door. When Trembling came out, the shoe was given to her, and it fitted exactly. So, once again, lying does not work, and once again, we have a case of the slipper fitting the Ashlass Cinderella Trembling. And this time, the two sisters don't mutilate their feet. There is an old style in Eastern cultures where women fit their feet in tiny pointed shoes so they look more feminine with tiny feet. Yeah, I have heard of that. I've heard of foot binding. It's not pleasant. And I've actually heard from my brother that I have small feet and small hands, which apparently makes me dainty or something. I don't know. I just know that his feet and his hands are a lot bigger than mine. He's just like, "Your feet are so tiny." I'm like, "Hush. It's called my foot mutilation? That is nasty." Exactly. Casually putting your sister in the closet. I mean, as you do when you want to get some. And I mean, I can kind of relate to Fair, the eldest sister, considering that the prince was in love with her, but then he sort of fell in love with Trembling. I mean, I can kind of understand that. And it does, and in this story, we don't actually see the two sisters abusing her that much. Totally normal. Yeah, just casually putting your sibling in the closet. If I could, I would. Trust me. Sounds nasty. It foot binding is, Andre. Like, don't look up pictures if you have a weak stomach. Anywho, so the shoe fitted exactly. The Prince of Emania looked at her and said, "You are the woman the shoe fits, and you are the woman I took the shoe from." Then Trembling spoke up and said, "Do stay here until I return." Then she went to the henwife's house. The old woman put on the cloak of darkness, got everything for her she had the first Sunday at church, and put her on the white mare in the same fashion. Then Trembling rode along the highway to the front of the house. All who saw her the first time said, "This is the lady we saw at church." She gets put in the closet, transport scenario, new story starts, become the witch. No, that's not what happens. But, like, still, we have a witch to an extent. We have the henwife. The henwife does magic, and she's also extremely nice. Like, when Trembling's like, "I accidentally lost one of the shoes," she's like, Don't worry about it. It's probably going to be the best thing that ever happened to you. So, yeah, I kind of like this hen wife. She's cool. She knows what's up. Headcanon, okay? Oh, gosh. Curses, I was asleep and didn't notice the notification. Arg! It's okay, crazy anime gamer. I'm just reading Fair, Brown, and Trembling, which is an adaptation of the Cinderella story. It's fine. I understand. Things happen. So, yeah. She rides out to the house in all of her pretty glory, and all who saw her say, "This is the lady we saw at church." Then she went away a second time, and a second time came back on the black mare in the second dress which the henwife gave her. All who saw her the second Sunday said, "That is the lady we saw at church." A third time she asked for a short absence, and soon came back on the third mare in the third dress. All who saw her the third time said, "That is the lady we saw at church." Every man was satisfied, and knew that she was the woman. I would be mad too if my sister took my man. Well, yeah. I mean, I'd be a little peeved, and they don't seem too bad. Like these, like Fair and Brown, they don't seem bad. We don't see any abuse aside from locking her in the closet. But yeah, I can understand Fair being a little peeved. Luckily, I don't have that problem because I don't have any sisters. I just have 2 younger brothers, so I will never have to deal with another girl taking my man. Hopefully, and hopefully my boyfriend doesn't try any of that. It's like, I'm jealous, so help me. I will bite you. So yeah, just I love you, but don't go being promiscuous. No, please, no. I have one sister. Enjoy the somber night, fellow traveler. Enjoy this fire brew. Yes. So every man is satisfied in knowing that Trembling is the woman. Then all the princes and great men spoke up and said to the son of the king of Emania, "You'll have to fight now for her before we let her go with you." "I'm here for you, ready for combat," answered the prince. Alrighty. If someone goes after your man, I know a specialist to deal with him. Nah. I'll take care of any tarts who go after my boyfriend myself. I will go after kneecaps, eyes, jugulars, femurs, the works. Proxy wouldn't. I will throw hands if he did so. Yeah, I don't think my boyfriend would ever do that. But if he did, though, I will come with a vengeance. Anyhow. So yeah, all the princes are like, okay, we found her. Now we fight for her. Cinderella, I believe, is one of those old grim tales where MC gets revenge instead of getting killed or really hurt. One of the evil stepsisters bled to death after mutilating her foot. Well, yes and no. In the Grimm's fairy tale version, both of them mutilate their feet, and they both end up getting their eyes pecked out by birds. And technically, it is revenge, but I mean, we never see Cinderella show any happiness of it. We just see her go to church to get married to the prince, and the stepsisters come try to get favor with her when the birds just peck out their eyes, which I mean they kind of deserved because they were terrible to her in the Grimm version. But yeah, so okay, all the princes and great men are just like, okay, we know who the woman from church is. Now we're gonna fight for her. Okay. Then the son of the king of Lochlin stepped forth. The struggle began, and a terrible struggle it was. They fought for 9 hours. And then the son of the king of Lochlin stopped, gave up his claim, and left the field. Next day, the son of the king of Spain fought 6 hours and yielded his claim. On the third day, the son of the king of Nierfoy fought 8 hours and stopped. The fourth day, the son of the king of Greece fought 6 hours and stopped. On the fifth day, no more strange princes wanted to fight, and all the sons of kings in Erin said they would not fight with a man of their own land, that the strangers had had their chance, and as no others came to claim the woman, she belonged of right of the son of the king of Emania. Ah, that's right. I can't remember the rest. It's fine. Cinderella gives cold content aloofness. Well, again, she doesn't. We don't see her delight in that. We don't see her delighting in her stepsister's misery. I mean, that would go against her being good and pious and kind. The truth is a song that plays as a young Cinderella. Grim Cinderella while getting married. Well, I guess this is happening now. I mean, probably, but I don't think she notices. I mean, she's probably really happy because she's marrying the prince. who again seems like a really nice guy. The book doesn't give us, the story doesn't give us all the details, but so yeah, the son of the king of Emania fights all these princes, and he wins the Hand of Trembling. I have no idea how they fought. It's just described as a struggle. Most likely there were swords, but considering this is Irish, there was most likely full-on wrestling. I don't know. The third Disney movie portrayal of Cinderella story shows one of the evil sisters redeeming herself. Yeah, and I do like that. Like where's the prince from? From spelling, I mean. The country of their homeland he's described as basically the son of the king of Emania, which is like that, spelled like that, Emania. But yeah, back to the story, and it's gonna get a lot worse. Hope if I remember correctly. I know it has a subtle adult element to it, though. Thank you so much, Noah. You're welcome. Laughing Reaper. Okay, The marriage day was fixed and the invitations were sent out. The wedding lasted for a year and a day. When the wedding was over, the king's son brought home the bride, and when the time came, a son was born. The young woman sent for her eldest sister, Fair, to be with her and care for her. One day, when Trembling was well, and when her husband was away hunting, the two sisters went out on a walk. And when they came to the seaside, the eldest pushed the youngest sister in, and a great whale came and swallowed her. The eldest sister came home alone, and the husband asked, "Where is your sister?" "She has gone home to father in Ballyshannon. Now that I am well, I don't need her." "Well," said the husband, looking at her, I am in dread it's my wife that has gone." "Oh, no," said she, "it's my sister Fair that's gone." Since the sisters were very much alike, the prince was in doubt. That night he put his sword between them and said, "If you are my wife, this sword will get warm. If not, it will stay cold." And I know some of you are thinking, some versions of the tale don't even mention Cinderella's father and just go straight to her being abused by her stepmother and stepsisters. But yeah, so the prince is in doubt, and he puts his sword between them and says, "If you are my wife, this sword will get warm. If not, it will stay cold." And I know what you're thinking. He's taken a sword from its sheath, and he's just laying it between them on the bed. Remember how I said that fairy tales were originally adults, for adults, and told by adults? Yes, lewdness. Sometimes a sword isn't a sword. It's a euphemism for... I am speechless! Understandable after Crazy Anime Gamer. Seriously? His sword? Yes, his sword. But I mean, it's understandable. It's one way to tell if the person you're sleeping with is your spouse or not. Not even a euphemism is unsheathed. Yes, the deliciously adult euphemism. I'm sorry for all the cackling. I'm sorry. Yeah, Isaac. Yeah, I mean, it's understandable. If it's warm, then it's the real bride, and if it's cold, well, I don't know how if the rules were reversed in the fairy tale and like gender switch, I don't know how it would work for females. I'm not sure. But yeah, anyway, getting off subject getting lost in the lewdness. I'm sorry. So yeah, okay. So the prince in doubt puts a sword between them. "If you're my wife, the sword will get warm. If not, it will stay cold." In the morning when he rose up, the sword was as cold as when he put it there. It happened, when the two sisters were walking by the seashore, that a little cowboy was down by the water, minding cattle, and saw Fair push Trembling into the sea. The next day, when the tide came in, he saw the whale swim up and throw her out on the sand. When she was on the sand, she said to the cowboy, "When you go home in the evening with the cows, tell the master that my sister Fair pushed me into the sea yesterday, that a whale swallowed me, and then threw me out, but will come again and swallow me with the coming of the next tide. Then he'll go out with the tide and come again with tomorrow's tide and throw me out on the strand. The whale will cast me out 3 times. I'm under the enchantment of this whale and cannot leave the beach or escape myself. Unless my husband saves me before I'm swallowed the 4th time, I shall be lost. He must come and shoot the whale with a silver bullet. When he turns on the broadside of his back, under the breast fin of the whale is a reddish-brown spot. My husband must hit him in that spot, for it is the only place in which he can be killed. We need not lewd a sword. No genitalia or intercourse is descripted. It is him sleeping with his weapon, hoping she stays and snuggles. You say that, Laughing Reaper, though still. There was more to fairy tale romance than just snuggling. Anyway, though still. But yeah, definitely a lot different from the Grimm's version. We got whale enchantments, and we got reddish brown spots on the underside of whales. Yes, the truth is Cinderella theme. How interesting, Akira. Do you have a favorite Grimm fairy tale, Avery? Do you prefer the Grimm tales or do you prefer the more lighthearted Disney versions? I like both. I grew up on the classic Disney films, obviously, but reading these fairy tales as I got older, I've learned to appreciate them more, and I like the fact that there's more to them that meets the eye. By the way, note in reference, the Princess Lance of Amelia does not exist unless you refer to those who are obsessive of e-girls and e-boys. Given that this is post-internet, I don't think e-girls or e-boys existed in fairy tales. Before then, at least. So, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, Trembling explains all of this to the cowboy, the person who gives cows, who tends to the cows. When the cowboy got home, the eldest sister gave him a draught of oblivion, and he did not tell. Next day, he went again to the sea. The whale came and cast Trembling on shore again. The boy asked, "Did you tell the master what I told you to tell him?" "I did not," said he. "I forgot." "How did you forget?" asked she. "The woman of the house gave me a drink that made me forget." "Well, don't forget telling him this night, and if she gives you a drink, don't take it from her." So, yeah, the hen wife isn't the only one with a bit of magiciness. Crazy I'm here. I guess I'm an old man because I have no idea what an e-boy or an e-girl is. I'm pretty sure it's a thing of this day and age. I think it's I don't know. I'm an old dame too. I don't really know what it is either. So yeah, we see the lady of the house. We see Fair giving the cowboy a special drink that makes him forget. Could it be a potion? It could. Could it also just be a potent alcoholic spirit? It also could be that. For those who don't reach, it's him testing her loyalty and not running off with others. If you're being lewd, it is him demanding intercourse and being blue ball. I'm 31, so not quite from this day and age. Well, I'm 22. So yeah, basically the whole hot or cold sword is basically him testing her to see if it's the true bride and also, loyalty. So, yes. So, yeah. Well, don't forget telling him this night. And if she gives you a drink, don't take it from her. As soon as the cowboy came home, the eldest sister offered him a drink. He refused to take it till he had delivered his message and told all to the master. The 3rd day, the prince went down with a gun and a silver bullet in it. He was not long down when the whale came and threw Trembling upon the beach, as the 2 days before. She had no power to speak to her husband till he had killed the whale. Then the whale went out, turned over once on the broad of its back, and he had killed the whale. Then, till her husband, she had no power to speak to her husband till he had killed the whale. Then the whale went out, turned over once on the broad of his back, and showed the spot for a moment only. That moment the prince fired. He had but the one chance, and a short one at that. But he took it, and hit the spot. And the whale, mad with pain, made the sea all around red with blood, and died. E-girl and e-boy is about internet personalities who have desperate and thirsty followers. Referring it to mania is about about these desperate people grouping together, frothing for internet teases. So yeah, basically that. They had guns in the time period Cinderella was in? I don't remember that, but then again, my memory is terrible. You're not that old crazy gamer, but yeah, in the Irish version, they got guns, we got whale enchantments, and we got henwives that do magic with their cloaks of darkness. It's a fairy tale. Anything's possible. So yeah, the whale goes mad with pain and made the sea all around red with blood and died. That minute Trembling was able to speak and went home with her husband, who sent word to her father what the eldest sister had done. The father came and told him any death he chose to give it. The prince told the father he would leave her life and death with himself. The father had put her out to sea in a barrel with provisions in it for 7 years. In time, Trembling had a second child, a daughter. The prince and she sent the cowboy to school and trained him up as one of their own children and said, "If the little girl that is born to us now lives, no other man in the world will get her but him." The cowboy and the prince's daughter lived on till they were married. The mother said to her husband, "You could not have saved me from the whale, but for the little cowboy. On that account, I don't grudge him my daughter." The son of the king of Emania and Trembling had 14 children, and they lived happily till the two died of old age. And that is the end of Fair, Brown, and Trembling, an Irish Cinderella story. Obviously, there are a lot of differences, but it's still the same. And it definitely ties into, what goes around comes around to an extent, given cousins to Jonas Whale? We don't know, but there is that clever symbolism. I just didn't say anything because, well, again, some people tend to get touchy around the subject that I believe. So, they did have early firearms in the late Middle Ages. I suppose this version of the tales were all written after that time period. I got 10 imaginary dollars that says that whale was Moby Dick's cousin. I mean, probably. They would have a descendant that ate Pinocchio. Hey, maybe it's the same whale. We don't know. We never know. That's what I call the Red Sea. Yep, turn the sea red with blood. But that was another adaptation of the Cinderella story. Obviously, definitely different in some cases. And I enjoyed it. Once again, what goes around comes around with Fair, locking her sister up in the closet. But we also see the unsung hero being the cowboy, the guy who attends the cattle. Not only is he rewarded and he's given school and he's taken in by Trembling and the king's son, but he also ends up becoming king in the end. And he also ends up getting Trembling's daughter. And we see Trembling and her husband live happily ever after. They have 14 children, and they live happily until they died of old age. And once again, we see the first step of the fairy headcanon. Closet sister becomes the witch in Narnia. Maybe. We'll never know, though still. And one thing I find interesting is that it's only Fair who gets punished, and even then she gets off lightly. Her father literally leaves life and just stuffs her in a barrel with provisions of food to last for 7 years. And so anything could have happened to her. She got off easier than the stepsisters of the Grimm version. They not only did they end up with mutilated feet, but they got their eyes pecked out by birds. Fair got off extremely easy, and we never see what happens to the sister Brown. Like, assuming she got off easy as well, despite the fact that we never see her get punished in any way. 14 children? Wow. Hey, it was common at the time for when the royals got married. They were expected to have children. And, I mean, well, getting a little lewd again, but hey, when Trembling came back, the sword was just really, really warm at the end. So, yeah. Okay, it's been an hour. This is the first time I've ever read an adaptation on these live streams. What do you guys think? Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and thank you for coming. I enjoyed reading the fairy tale of Cinderella, and I actually enjoyed going over the adaptation with you guys. And yeah, moral of the story: what goes around comes around, and also, oh, hey, it was expected to have in the 20s, depending on when. Exactly. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Thank you for coming to the live stream. I enjoyed reading the story of Cinderella, and I enjoyed reading the story of Frere Brown and Trembling. If you guys want me to read more extra farmhands or heirs to property, yeah, Laughing Reaper. But yeah, if you guys want more adaptations of different fairy tales, I can certainly find them online, and I'd be more than happy to read them to you. Heck, I'd even be willing to read original fairy tales written by me to you. I have one written on the website Fairy Tales, um, under my real name, as Avery Young is my surname. But yeah, if you guys want to hear me read different adaptations of fairy tales, I'd be more than happy to do it. If you want to hear me read original fairy tales that I come up with in this massive space of maddening creativity in my head, I'd be willing to read those too. But yeah, thank you so much for staying and enjoy. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the stories, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.